Well, the Twitter world is on its head today following Elon Musk revealing just how much his new company suppressed the Hunter Biden laptop story since it first came out weeks before the 2020 presidential election. And there's more to come later today. So what are the legal ramifications that could lie ahead as a result of these findings? Joining me now to weigh in is former assistant DA in Manhattan's DA's office, constitutional law attorney and Newsmax contributor, Amir Benno. And also with us is distinguished professor from Touro University, Thane Rosenbaum. Great to see you both with us this Saturday afternoon. And Amir, I'm going to start with you here. As we know, Elon Musk last night revealed pretty much what most Republicans have known for more than 2 years now, even though that Republicans have been told that they were coming up with some sort of conspiracy theory that there was any cover-up on the Hunter Biden laptop story. So legally, walk us through what Hunter Biden could potentially be facing in the near future now that all of these things are coming to light.
Well, it's great to be here with Thane and with you. It's not so much Hunter Biden as much as it might be legal exposure for Twitter executives, and it might be legal exposure for Joe Biden's committee, those who are on his campaign committee, and himself. And here's why. And somebody on Twitter aptly said that when Elon Musk bought Twitter, he didn't just buy a company, he bought a crime scene. We have federal criminal election interference laws that prohibit any government official, federal or state, from taking any action that might affect the outcome of an election. Now, granted, Biden wasn't elected at the time that this took place, but there may have been members of Congress who were. That's the first part. Second, there may be FEC campaign violations, campaign finance violations on this, because shadow banning, blocking the transmission of the links to the articles reporting on this, those sorts of things are in-kind contributions to a campaign. And corporations can't make contributions to federal candidates, and candidates for federal office can't receive contributions from corporations. So there may be federal election commission violations there. And finally, there was an FEC investigation into this, and Twitter did provide some materials, but it seems like they didn't provide the full complement of materials from what we're learning now. So there could have been a conspiracy to lie to a federal agency. So that may ultimately result in more criminal charges for those who participated in that cover-up, which would be the Biden campaign and those at Twitter. So we're going to have to do an investigation, but there's lots of possibilities here and lots of potential criminal exposure.
Yeah, and Thane, I was reading an article on The Hill, and they described this as Twitter went from being a campaign ally to the Biden administration to a surrogate for state censorship because they continued to get intel from the Biden campaign, or I should say the Biden administration at that point, for details and stories that they simply didn't want to go through, and they would just respond, yeah, it's been handled. What do you make of that?
So, Katrina, I agree with everything that Amir said, and I would add to that that this raises a question of whether finally we will repeal Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Remember what that is. That's the federal statute that immunizes internet companies from any liability from what is ultimately being broadcast or being platformed on their platforms. Why did we give them immunity initially? Because we didn't think that they did anything other than build the architecture, the infrastructure of the digital highway. We didn't know that they cared. We didn't know that they played favorites. We didn't know that they would engage in viewpoint discrimination. So now what we're seeing is, yes, they played favorites. And in fact, as Amir's saying, they may have functioned as a quasi-government entity. Because remember, the whole point of what Twitter and Facebook and social media says is there's no longer a public square. The public square is us, right? Well, if the public square is us, then you're essentially like the government and you cannot infringe on free speech. And that's what exactly happened here. You're the only game in town. You're essentially a quasi-government entity that restricted free speech against the First Amendment, and you did so with the government's blessing because we gave you an immunity, and it's time to take that immunity back.
All right, we are sadly out of time. I wanted to talk to you guys for, I have a million more questions. So we'll have to do it again, but Amir Benno and Thane Rosenbaum, thanks so much for being with us.